Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh. And salam sejahtera, salam Malaysia Madani. Alhamdulillahillazi hadana lihaza wa ma kunna linahtadiya laula an hadana Allah. Rabbi shrali sadri wa yassirli amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. First of all, I would like to welcome all of you to another series of webinar session hosted by Center for Academic Development and Leadership Excellence, CADe-Lead, University Putra, Malaysia. So it is a great pleasure to have all of you today joining our session entitled Flexibility in Education, Micro-Credential for All. So the session will be conducted by Mr. Johan Krebbers. So he is the leader for emerging technologies in Malaysia, working at the Digital-Nasional Berhad enterprise strategy. So let me share with you the objective of this webinar. Towards the end of this session, we hope that at the end, we will be able to sort of benchmarking some of the micro-credential practices from the private sector. The second, I think we shall explore the potential collaborators and common practice of micro-credential development. And finally, we hope that we will be able to offer private sectors micro-credential platforms to be used by UPM stakeholders. Johan, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you very much. Good morning.
So yeah, it's a great pleasure to be with you today, and allow me to share with the audience a little bit about your profile.
Okay.
So Mr. Johan Krebbers has an extensive work experience in oil and gas industries, particularly in Shell. So I think he has been involving in so many roles in different locations and sites. Over the past 6 years, he was also the IT CTO. CTO stands for Chief Technical Officers, am I right?
Yeah.
Johan? All
yes.
right. For Shell in global, and in addition for the general manager for the team looking over the digital differentiating and emerging technologies such as AI, IoT, blockchain, XR, and etc. He also has been working with several years for many startup companies in San Francisco area with the aim to get their solutions early into Shell for deployment. I think as part of his role in Shell, he has also started working in Cyberjaya back in 2000. So we are glad to have you in Malaysia to share your expertise, Johan.
Thank you.
Of course, he has also sort of set up almost 160,000 desktop in related to the offering the services at the offices. So since August 2021, he is part of DNB Enterprise Strategy Team, where he is the leader of the emerging technologies team, including developing and enhancing the 5G enabled digital services for 12 vertical companies sections such as energy, seaports, logistics, and etc. So with a great honor, the screen is yours, Johan, and all the best.
Thank you very much. Let me get the screen going.
So for the audience, if you have any question, thoughts, you may want to share via the chat room button over there, and then perhaps we can sort of share with the speaker today. Right.
Can you see the slides?
Yes, we can see your slide, Johan.
Okay, I will go to full screen mode then. Okay, good morning. I'm very glad to be with you. That's not the end, of course. Sorry, that is not the one I want to show, of course. First, so let me go up here. And okay, yes, good morning, Johan Krebbers, as already introduced quite nicely, from DNB over here in TX building in KL. Today we are going to talk about the items being highlighted, and before I go there, I'm first going to give a little bit of an introduction to the world of digital, because the material we're going to talk about, the training development, the platform we're going to talk about, is all about developing the digital skills of the Malaysian students. So I'll give a little bit background to digital, what digital is all about, why is it so important. Then we're going to talk about the 12 verticals, and then we're going to say, okay, how does, I mean, if you talk about digital, how will digital solve many of the issues we have in different industries in Malaysia? And then we're going to look at the digital program itself, how you can make use of that, how can you develop yourself to really become somebody with good digital expertise. It's important that all the things we're talking about are applicable to any student, because any job, whether you go for a doctor, whether you go for a lawyer, whether you go for an engineer, software developer, whether you go for agriculture, it makes no difference. Every job is impacted by digital. Every job is impacted by AI. Every job is impacted by other digital technologies. And that's why it's important that we develop this training program we're going to talk about, with a focus at that every student should follow that to really raise the digital awareness level in Malaysia, because it's so important. Although DNB, of course, focus is at the rollout and ongoing support of 5G, but we look at 5G just as one element of these digital services, and we focus at the whole story, and I'm going to explain that in a moment. So the world of digital, yeah. So what this is all about? This is all about data. I mean, the most important component of this is data, and what's so special about data in the context of digital? In the context of digital, you're really working with data as you produce it, as you use it to run the facilities. Often, what happened in the past with data or in other environments, that people for decision making had a separate set of data than people who were running the facilities. In the case of digital, there's one set of data, so you use one set of data for running the facilities operationally, and also for you take that same data as input for decision making. And that's very important, because that means you have far better data for decision making than you had often in the past, where you had summarized data, also out of data, etc. So with digital, you have that one set of data for both decision making and for the data running of the facilities. So keep that well in mind with digital. I always use a digital workflow, and it's important that you understand that every digital process always follows these steps. So every digital process, whether you are here in banking, finance, in manufacturing, in energy, in healthcare, in entertainment, in agriculture, makes no difference in what business you're in. Every digital process always takes these steps. It always starts with number one, the data to be collected. What is the data I need to collect to come to a decision? And that data, of course, is dependent on the industry it's in, but that data is collected real time. Can be video data, can be camera data, can be sensor data, can be temperature data, pressure data, lots of different types of data you collect for input for decision making. So it's item one, you always start with collecting data. And then you bring the data, connectivity, often with 5G or other connectivities. If it's time critical, if you have to make an immediate decision about that data, you do it in the edge compute environment, item 3. Item 3 says, I have to make an immediate decision as decision maker. I have no time to waste. So I immediately make the decision at the edge itself, and I'm going to explain that moment later. Then you store the data under 4. If it's not time critical, if you can just make the decision a couple of minutes later or days later or hours later, then you go to 5, where you then apply AI. So there's artificial intelligence, machine learning, or machine vision, or other versions of it to translate data into information. Because at the end of the day, you need information for the decision maker under 6 to make for him or her to make that decision. Yeah, so the flow is always you collect data, but if you only collect data and store that data under item 4 and you do nothing with that data, you get no value out of the data. Yeah, you only get value out of the data by going to step 5, where you apply AI or other technologies, where you apply AI to get information out of the data, and the information is really then for the decision maker to steer decision maker what steps to take as part of this process. You can apply this every industry, every industry, every type of decision, and we will apply this. I'll give you a number of examples in a moment. But it's always important, if you don't get to 6 or something like there, means you don't get to the value, means you get nothing out of it. Yeah, so that's what's important. People can get very excited about AI, very important, but AI needs data. People can get excited about data, but data needs AI or something like that to make decisions out of it. So this, I mentioned this because this all will also be explained as part of the course we are introducing in a moment. If examples over here, here at the top, you see the same line again, and then I give you typical examples of digital technologies. So 5G is just one example, but 5G in itself only gives you connectivity. It does not give you a full end-to-end solution. And you also remember, it's important for 5G to remember, the focus of 5G is at the enterprise. The focus of 4G was at the consumer. I mean, if you look at yourself, 4G has totally changed your ways of working, what you can do with your iPhone or with your smartphone. 5G will not have that same impact as 4G had on your phone, but 5G will have the same impact on how an enterprise works, how an enterprise is going to change. An enterprise can be a small company, small medium enterprise, and a large company, makes no difference. Edge, of course, edge means I do compute facilities close to our collected data. Blockchain, metaverse, of course, you got AI, machine learning, machine vision, autonomous. All these terms will be explained, are all elements of a digital solution. So blockchain is important if you want to do proof of origin. Autonomous is important. Think about autonomous cars, but it's much broader than that. So all these terms will be explained in the course we're going to talk about in a moment, because they're all building block of a digital solution and how you come to a digital solution. And here you see the other ones: machine learning, machine vision, VR, AR, virtual reality, augmented reality. Of course, if you're a gamer, you know exactly what this is all about. But you saw the announcement from Apple last week, Monday, about their new mixed reality device, and from Meta, Meta the week before. So that's also these are all building blocks on how to come to this solution. So AR, VR, you use how to present your solution to the decision maker. Yeah, these will all be explained in the course we're going to talk about in a moment. But I highlight these because whatever the job is going to do, but you become a doctor. Give an example of a doctor. Doctor is going to look at a scan and have to make a decision on the basis of that scan. The scan collects, so the scan is created under item 1 on the device. So there we create a scan, we store the scan then maybe under item 4, and then we're using AI, machine vision, to analyze the scan before it goes to the doctor. So machine vision will look at the scan and say, where are the problem areas in this scan? And then mark these problem areas and tell the doctor, please only look at these 2 or 3 problem areas on this scan. For the rest, I think it's okay. So the doctor is assisted by AI to come to a better decision, I have to say. Yeah, and that was also quite funny. If you're aware of the Microsoft announcement a couple of weeks ago, the whole Microsoft AI environment, they call it Copilot, really assisting decision makers to come to better decisions. And that's what this is all about: coming to better decisions by decision maker. Make sure you've got the right data, right AI, and right other technologies. You know, to examine use of blockchain and the use of virtual reality. Blockchain is about proof of origin. Can you prove that in the product you bring into the market, you have included certain products independently? Very important. If you want to prove, for instance, that your kerosene or your petrol is greener than somebody else's, then you want to prove that proof is more than, well, Shell tells you this or Petronas tells you that. You have to be able to show that in an independent way. And that's what blockchain is all about, proving in an independent way that certain products, as an example, have certain components. And this is a twin for energy companies. So we talked about 12 verticals. These are the 12 verticals we are working with. So these are all different industries in Malaysia. And for each of them, we have identified the pain points. If you go to the DNB home site, so just go to DNB home site and go to enterprise, you find all 12 verticals and all the pain points in every vertical. What's the pain point? A pain point, for instance, in energy is the availability of the production sites is too low. Availability in agriculture with plantations, they need too much manpower to do the job. They can't find the manpower. So how can we change that ways of working that you don't need that large amount of manpower? Same in retail, same in seaports. So these are 12 industries, and for each of these industries, we have identified what are the pain points in each industry and how can 5G enabled digital solutions address these pain points. And you see some examples here, what we're doing. It's for instance, in healthcare, the work we do in KPG with 3D scanning, the work we're doing in energy with Sarawak Energy, Sarawak Petchem, etc., and also Petronas. So you also will come back these in your training later. But if you want to know what these pain points are, you can go to the DNB home site as we speak and have a look at them. And I give you one or two examples over here. These are examples of pain points in manufacturing. So in the manufacturing industry, you see 6 pain points. The first one on the top left corner is unplanned downtime impacting production. And it's a real problem. So how can you minimize the unplanned downtime with 5G enabled digital solutions? And I'm going to show that in a moment. How can you do improved quality control on a manufacturing line without having to stop the manufacturing lines? You can real time do quality control on a manufacturing line, or do goods on a manufacturing line, again using digital solutions. So these are examples of pain points, but also how 5G enabled digital solutions can address these pain points. And of course, then that's all about then what data do we need to collect? Yeah, before, where do you store the data, and what AI, machine vision or machine learning do you apply to come to that improved uptime or the improved quality control? So this is just one example of manufacturing, but we have that for all 12. And then you see an example, unplanned downtime, a pain point here, unplanned downtime impacting production. Over here, you see top left corner, unplanned downtime impacting production. And here you see how that works. And at the top line, you see exactly the same steps again. What are the devices? So what sensors do I need? What's the connectivity? Is this time critical or is it not time critical? In unplanned downtime impacting production, is not time critical, so we don't need edge compute. So we immediately can go to application services to apply their AI to look at to see what elements, what components could go down, could cause problems, what engines, what other devices in the production line could cause problems in the future, and therefore I have to take action now. And so this is all about, you collect the data, like you collect, if it is an engine, vibration data, you collect number of rotations data, you might collect temperature data. All this data together, you bring them to cloud storage, and then you apply AI machine learning. AI machine learning will look at that data and historical data, and based on what it sees, will tell the decision maker, be well aware that this particular engine or this particular component is expected to fail in the next 2 to 3 days. You better take action now before it actually fails. So that's the way to improve the uptime of a production line. As I mentioned, sensors are very important over here, but I'll talk about two examples of AI in this particular case. We talk about machine learning. Machine learning is all about predicting future behavior. Yeah, so you collect data and you predict future behavior. And machine vision is really look at images on cameras and say, oh, I see a leakage over there. Oh, I see a damage over there on that image, and then tell the decision maker what to do. So that one is machine vision, and autonomous machine learning. In the training we're going to talk about in detail, these will be explained, because these are critical components of a digital environment for any job. So any job you're talking about, you will come across these type of technologies. Yeah, this is a very simple example about improving uptime of an oil platform. If, as I mentioned before, I have devices over there on the left, on the one, I collect data. I apply that, I store the data on the item 4, cloud storage. I apply AI machine learning under 5, and then it will tell me when a particular component is going to fail and what I need to do about it. So I tell then 6, the decision maker, you better take this component out of this production platform before it actually fails and causes downtime. So that's the way to improve uptime. And that means real money. I'll give you a very, very simple example. Let's assume over here that I can increase the Petronas offshore oil production side uptime from 88 to 94%, so 6% by doing predictive maintenance. And I have a production of 100,000 barrels a day plus 6%. I add another 6,000 barrels a day. If every barrel is $60, you can see what money you make extra because you have a better uptime. So by addressing these technologies, you can always show the value of it. So it's always important. If you go to a decision maker and you want to apply these type of technologies, you can say, okay, what's the value? What does it do to me? What can I do better than I do today? This is a very simple example what the value is, and I will skip the other ones. So what I try to do in this first part is really painting the picture of the importance of digital to every job in Malaysia, and I mean every job. So I really don't care what study you do. Every study will be impacted by it. And as you also hear the government talking, there's a very desire to uplift the job prospects and the high level jobs also in Malaysia. Then this part is quite crucial, that we're really creating students with a good understanding of digital, because you need it in the study and you need it in the job after the study. And so I'll try to explain how digital plays and how digital plays everywhere. So it's important to realize that this training is not targeted at IT staff. It's not targeted at technical staff. It's targeted at any type of staff, whether you're going to go a teacher and then IT, and then we can explain to you how AI can improve the job of a teacher, whether you're going to be a doctor, a lawyer, we don't really care. All these jobs are possibly impacted by digital. Therefore, it's so important that we work with the universities, that every job is being, every student is being addressed over here. And you start over here, why for every student and every worker. Often it is overlooked because people come to us and say, oh, this is digital, it can only be of interest to IT, so we're only going to talk to the faculty of the IT faculty, or the faculty of IT. That's wrong, yeah, for the reason I gave you a moment ago. So that's the background of this whole training program. We start this training program with MOHC, with the Ministry of Higher Education, about May last year. We, being Ericsson and DNB, said we really need to lift this awareness level, because okay, DNB is rolling out together with Ericsson 5G across Malaysia, and by the end of this year we'll have covered 80% of the Malaysia country, of our people living will have proper, good quality 5G access. And you should realize that the 5G rollout in Malaysia is top quality in the world. Is either number 1 or number 2 across the world from a speed and quality point of view. So we're beating people like South Korea, we're beating other countries around the world in quality of our 5G network. So we should be proud of the 5G that we're rolling out. But as I mentioned before, 5G in itself is not your solution. It's only part of your solution. You need the whole digital picture, of which 5G is one element. It's a connectivity element to come to an end-to-end solution. So we said we really need to develop a digital training class for all students. So we increased awareness of digital across Malaysia for all students. So the scope is the total digital picture. The total digital scope. We start with that, as I mentioned, May last year. We worked with 1 or 2 universities to validate the material, to do pilots, and we went live for all public universities in January 11th of this year. We went live for the private universities, the MAPCO private universities in March. We go live for all polytechs, 36 polytechs in Malaysia in the coming weeks. And then we do the remaining colleges. So in principle, all 500 higher education colleges, institutions, I have to say, will really be will get access to this program. It is fully free. There are no costs involved for either university or the student. Doesn't be well aware. And as I mentioned, why we're doing this, because we think it's very, very important for Malaysia to lift the level of this awareness, because that means if you also look at the type of companies you get in the country, they are more and more in the digital space. You see the Googles of this world, see the Microsoft of this world, the Amazon of this world. They're all operating in this space and expecting people with this type of knowledge to be available. As I mentioned, we started this in how do we work? There's a focal point in every university. We call the SPOC, the single point of contact. We interface with that SPOC. We make sure that the SPOC has the right information for him or her to do their job, and they are then the focal point within that university to deal with all faculties. And of course, it's quite a challenge, because if you have a large university, let's say with 20,000 students, and you might have 12 or 14 faculties, it's quite a job for this SPOC to maintain that interface and making sure that all the students get this information. Because the student, of course, it is at the moment still micro-credentials based. That means it's voluntary. So if the student doesn't want to do it, that's his or her choice. Over time, we want to make this part of the curriculum, but to speed up things, we started with micro-credentials, so it's free to the student to follow it or not. So it's meant for all higher educations, and it has 3 modules, modules 1, 2, and 3. And the total time you can spend this was about 42 hours. So every module is about 14 hours. Of course, the time when you do it is up to you. It's an online training class. You decide as a student when to follow it, whether you do it at 3 o'clock in the morning or 1 o'clock in the evening if you're a night worker, or whenever. Yeah. And whenever you stop and log on the next time, it continues where you left it. It's an online system. You register for it once, and you do it all yourself. And we show that also in a moment. As I mentioned, there's 3 modules of each module of 14 hours. I'll explain in a moment what is in each module. After each module, there's an assessment. You have to make 60% of that assessment. And after the last assessment or the third assessment, you get a badge, an excellent badge, electronic badge, to prove that you've successfully completed this digital My 5G training program. This is all done online. So assessments are done online. You fill them out. You will get the results. After you get also results sent to you, etc. As I mentioned, on the right you find it is at the moment is my credentials. Our aim is over time to make credit bearing, but we started to get moving with micro credentials. Module 1 is really the fundamentals, the end-to-end story. I explained to you in a nutshell 15 minutes ago, the end-to-end digital workflow. I did a very high level in a nutshell, but Module 1 will go through that in a lot more detail, because it's very important that you understand the end-to-end workflow. What are the digital building blocks? When are they used? Why are they used? What happens in the different jobs, how to be used. And in Module 2, you take a number of these building blocks and go to the next level of detail. Module 3, you take another set of these building blocks and go to another level of detail. So those are the 3 modules, each 14 hours for the student to follow. It includes video material. It includes multiple choice assessments. So it's quite diverse. It has lots of practical experience. It's not a highly theoretical exercise that you don't understand how this is important for you. It's all about reality, coming down to earth, how that works, makes a difference for you today. And of course, you get a digital badge once you completed all 3 assessments. Let me show you so the modules is module 1, as I mentioned here, is 14 hours, is really the end-to-end story. It gives the end-to-end high-level story of digital. And then once you complete it, you get your assessment. And module 2 and 3 gives a next level detail. And then, of course, once you've completed that, you get your assessments, and then your badge completed. Let me show this picture over here is clearer. So module 1 is introduction, and then you see the blue parts gives you the building blocks of module 1. So we're talking about connectivity. We're going over each of the building blocks: devices, connectivity, cloud edge computing, AI applications. Remember, these were the numbers 1 to 7 when we talked about before. Those we explained end to end and how it worked. And in the end, you see the assessment with multiple choice. And module 2 is you take a number of these building blocks and go to the next level of detail. So AI, more explained, and data. Data is so important. It's often forgotten about, but data is the most important building block of every digital solution. And again, an assessment. And then module 3, you take the other detailed building blocks, and again with an assessment, and in the end you're getting a batch sent to you. You can use that and link edit and say, look, I made this critical batch, etc. This material is specifically made for all the students in Malaysia. So it is developed by DNB staff, Ericsson staff, over the second half of last year. So don't assume that we bought some Microsoft stuff and we bought some Amazon stuff. No, we did not. So that you really should have a look at it. It's very geared towards very practical way of working, and what you really need to know as a student to be successful with digital in the society. So module 2 and 3, as I mentioned, is data, AI, machine learning, XR, extended reality, and of course blockchain, etc. in the next level of detail. So how does it work? I'll show in a moment. I'll show you in a moment. So I need to go back here. I'll show you in a moment the landing page. You can register yourself. You just register yourself. You look for the name of the university. All it asks for the name of the university. You register yourself, what faculty you're in, etc., etc. It's very simple. Once you've done that, that's it. You can do it all yourself whenever you want to do that. And of course, if you have questions, if you're getting totally stuck, you can go. There's an online support button also on the application. You can go to immediately direct to Ericsson, or if you have other type of questions, the SPOC is your focal point. So the SPOC is a single point of contact. Is also accountable for sending out the material to all students. Here you see we have a main driver to make sure that every student gets this information in any shape or fashion, whatever is the norm at that university. The DNB focal points, if you really don't know what to do anymore, if you get stuck, and the help of SPOC is myself, Johan Krebbers, and Dr. Ahmad Helmi bin Atzar, both working for DNB over here in Kel, both part of DNB and both well familiar with this program. But your first point of call is the support button in the program, and of course the SPOC at university. This is a one slide, I call it. This here on one slide you see at the top what's the program all about, then why it's relevant to all different jobs, and you see the various examples over here. Then how much time does it take, and how can I get access to it. So this slider will also be sent to you by your SPOC, but it gives you on one slide relevant information. The demo here is the link. I will show in a moment and what also included the link, and also include the QR code. If you pick up this QR code, you get immediately the button of the screen to register with your name, university name, and then you immediately get into it. And I'll show it in a moment longer, but if I now want to show quickly, let me see over here. I want to show things over here. Okay, I already had a timeout on my material. So let me go back to the material itself, because it's more important now. Let me go back to the Zoom session again. Yeah. So if you have your iPhone with you, you can take a copy of the QR code, or scan your camera on the QR code, and then it will show you the logon screen, and will show you then how to get in, show you the logons, ask for your name, your faculty, and then you can start. And then it tell you, you can then select module 1, 2, or 3. So after that you say, yeah, I want to go for module 1, 2, or 3. You start now with module 1, but you could do it differently, although I don't recommend that. But you go for module 1, and then module 1 will show you what are the modules within module 1. You click on that, and then you can start following the training classes. When you're done, when you finish, if you say I have 1 hour, you do 1 hour, you stop, and then the next morning you come back again and you start, although you continue where you left it. Yeah. This is really what I wanted to talk about. We make sure that you get this particular slide, because it tells you via the Spock, you get this slide, then that will give you the all the information you need to know. And remember why it's important. It's important because we are moving digital, and we're moving digital in every role. You see some examples over here, some clear examples over here about energy. I talked about the doctor, the lawyer, retail business. Every job moves digital. So that means you need to understand some basic assumptions, like why is data important? Why is AI important? We don't assume that we're going to make you an AI expert, that you need to know everything about AI. You need to have IT skills for this course. No, you don't. It's really kept very practical, but just explain what is machine learning all about, what is machine vision all about, what's virtual reality all about. Because you've heard about virtual reality in the context of gaming, but remember, we use also virtual reality in healthcare. We use virtual reality in energy. So we're using virtual reality and augmented reality already in several jobs out there. And before you know, and therefore you saw also the announcements last week of Apple and the week before of Meta, it becomes a very important technology. So you better know about these kind of things, how it fits in your environment. You've heard about IoT, about sensors. So it's important you understand that end-to-end story laid out to you, and how that fits into your job, in your context, in your environment. So let me stop over here. I will open up the floor for questions.
Thank you very much, Johan, for your impressive presentation. I'm glad that you brought in the current industrial perspective, the real time of the practices from the industries on optimization of this 5G technology. I'm sure that there will be a question from members of the floor. So feel free to ask question, and perhaps we can sort of, let me check from okay, there is no question from the chat room. So I open up to Q&A from any of the members. All right, so maybe let me keep the ball rolling first, Johan.
Okay, go ahead, please.
So yeah, I'm sure that this effort on micro-credential will benefit the students not only in UPM but also other institutions. So I'm thinking on how because all of these platform will be fully digital, where the constraint is on the imposing of the values and morals. How do you foresee the values being imposed to the students via digital environment?
Well, what the students will learn very much in their program, especially if you go to module 1, where you talk about the end-to-end story, steps 1 to 7. If you follow these steps, you get the value out of the digital workflow. And therefore, we emphasize all the time, don't just look at data, because some people get very excited about IoT or about data. All people get very excited about AI, but you need both. You need data to feed AI, and you need AI to get information, the value out of it. So as long as you follow module 1, you really find out how it all hangs together, how these steps are interdependent. And if you only get to step 6 or 7, then you see, oh, now I understand, because I gave an advice to the doctor about, for instance, where to look, or hey, I gave an advice what in the case of Petronas, what engine is going to fall over. That the value comes to the table. Because then you immediately see the value. Every digital workflow has value. There's no question about it. But of course, you need to see it through until the end, and being you need to collect the data, store the data, apply AI to the data, and then getting the value out of it.
Yeah, well, I would agree with that. So,
Yeah.
Because in UPM we also have our own Putra Muhd platform, which comprises of list of micro-credential courses as well.
Yeah.
So again, I open up to the members of the screen to perhaps to share any thoughts or question to Johan. No question. Okay, I think it is a bit straightforward on what would be the outputs from this webinar, right, Johan?
Yes, yeah,
So
it's very straightforward. You see at the moment the QR code. But the next step is very much for the SPOC to get this information, this one slider, to all the students. And of course, at the bottom here you find the link. As long as you use that link, then of course you immediately get access to the login screen. You give your name of the university, the name of your faculty, and one or two other bits of information. You click on it, then you look at the left of the screen, and then you click on that, and it tells you then you can go to module 1, module 2, or module 3. So before you get it, on the left screen you see 3 lines. Click on those 3 lines, and then you see module 1, module 2, module 3. As just explained, you start of course in module 1, and you work as long as you can at that moment. Once you're done, you finish, and then whenever you continue next time, it will continue, because it will remember where you left it, the system, last time, until you have completed it. And then of course you can do your we call it your you can do your check of whether you got it all clear to you. And when you pass 60%, you of course start with module 2. You can do it in any order you like. We're not prescribed anything in this, but of course it makes most sense to do that in module 1, 2, and 3, because module 1 will lay the groundwork for 2, and 2 will do it for 3. But it's your choice, and it's also how much time, how often, how slow, how fast. It's you. And remember, there are no costs involved from anybody.
Well, I think the best part of your course, your MC course, is basically a combination of a different digitalization elements, comprised of AI, VR in one single course,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. It gives the total end-to-end solution. It's so important for people to understand the end-to-end solution. That digital is the digital workflow. Maybe I don't really see my screen moving now, but I want to show almost my first slide. Is this digital end-to-end workflow? And this digital end-to-end workflow includes blockchain where needed, includes AI under 5, includes Edge under 3 when needed. These are all the digital building blocks you've heard about, you've read about via HR. You've heard, of course, about ChatGPT. Yeah, ChatGPT would fit again in 5, because what does ChatGPT looks at data and helps you get information out of it. Yeah, so they all fit. You've heard about Web 3.0. You've heard about the metaverse. Metaverse would also fit in item 5, because metaverse is really a presentation layer where it brings all that information, all these elements we're talking about together into a single view. So they all fit into a single story, and we bring that whole single story together in a single course, and already practical, written specifically for Malaysia. And we didn't go to the third-party market. We say, give us a standard Microsoft or Amazon. I'm not saying that's bad, but this is really with practical experience. Have a look at it, try something out with videos, etc.
Well, I think with a huge investment of the government on the 5G technology should be embraced and being,
Yes. Yeah.
should be benefited by all the educators in any institutions.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
perhaps
Yeah.
what is your hope of this MC that you are offering here
My
to
hope is really, I mean, yeah, my hope, sorry to interrupt. My hope is really that people pick this up. It's an opportunity. People should realize every student, whether you're in the first grade or the second grade or third grade, you know digital is hitting you. Because you look at your private life, how things have changed. Yeah, that will only go faster. And you hear about the virtual reality stuff in the job. I mean, what people say, what 4G did for the private sector, yeah, for the consumer market, is 5G doing for the digital sector. It will fully digitize the enterprise. So what happened with 4G, when you're in 4G, with 4G, you changed your way of working as a private person. Yeah, you got all the new facilities, all the new things, what you do with 4G, with your 4G phones. And 5G will do the same big change for all for the enterprises. So the way we work in an enterprise will dramatically change because the things we just explained. You better know about it when you go into an enterprise. You better be aware of it. Otherwise, you're looking really out of date.
Yeah, I think that is what is missing in academia today, where it is sort of we overlook something that is happening on the industry. And I'm glad that you brought in the benefits of the 5G, and then we cut across of different fields for
Yeah.
our today's discussion. So yeah, I received a question from
Okay.
Hayati over here. She asked on the challenges and difficulties on transforming the education landscape to sort of a digitalization efforts.
Yeah. I mean, what are we talking about over here? Because I have one of the industries, one of the verticals we have looked at is also education, because also digital can have a huge impact on how you educate people, how you teach people, how the teacher works with the student. And so that same digital change way of working will have exactly the same impact at a university, at your university as well. Whether you like it or not, it's going to happen. It might they might not, the actuation not maybe the fastest one of that, because if you look where was the impact at the moment the most, what has the biggest impact at the moment is what happens, for instance, in manufacturing. Look what happens with Proton. Look at how they change their way of working, as an example. But also the education will be impacted. How that's why I said in the beginning, whatever you study is irrelevant because it's always impacted by digital.
Mm. So let me say, if I put myself in the shoes of the students, what would be the benefit I will get from the digital batch that you offer over here?
The benefit of digital batch is, first, you really understand the digital landscape. If you go to a job, if you go to a job, you understand how it all hangs together. This picture tells you how it all hangs together. It also tells you it applies to every industry. So you understand, why is data important? Why are sensors important? And how does it hang together with the AI story? And how do I get value out of it? Because at the end of the day, if you're going to work for a job somewhere and you do something, there needs to be some value coming out of it. So that's also important. So as a student, you get this whole framework, let's say, offered to you, so you understand it all hangs together. So you understand at the university, but special also when you go out for a job after you study, you really have a clear story. I understand how blockchain works with AI, why is AI important, how does AI talk with ChatGPT, because you hear about in the press. I mean, if you live, ChatGPT did not exist half a year ago, between quotes, yeah, and now it's all over you. Yeah, Web 3.0, Metasphere. I mean, it's one after the other. Anyway.
Yeah, again, I open up to the members of the screen. If you want to interact with Johan, you want to share any thoughts or question, feel free to do so. Do we have any question from from our YouTube channel, Azri?
Tak ada, Doktor.
Tak ada, no question. All right. Okay. So again, I think it is a straightforward sort of a presentation. I think we have addressed, a need to implement this kind of micro-credential course, I think, in UPM as well. So let's put effort on distribute the link to our potential students, to our students. Therefore, they will get a benefit out of the micro-credential course offered by Digital-Nasional Berhad. So any last word from you, Johan?
No, I would say go for it. Really, and you don't need to all in one go, but really make sure whatever job you do, you understand it, because it is expected for you in society, in the job you're going to do. And let's be clear, you are the people going to into the workforce, or the most senior people going to the workforce. So if people from a higher education should understand this type of stuff, so they can show leadership in the workforce. But that's expected of a student coming in the workforce. I mean, you're the highest level we bring into the workforce in Malaysia. Yeah. So you should understand, you should show leadership and tell people, and this way it works, and this way you can make use of it, this way you can exploit it. It's really a must for you to do this, I would say. Anyway, those are my words. I think you found it fun as well.
Yeah.
If you get stuck, also, the support line, let us will help you, of course.
So I myself will, enroll for this program because I think the benefits are there. So again, on behalf of the UPM Management and Center for Academic Development and Leadership Excellence stakeholders in UPM, we would like to thank you, Johan, for your time.
You're welcome.
You are extremely a busy person.
No, but it's important. It's very, very important to do these things.
Yeah, all right. So we hope we can sort of collaborate with you in the future, and then hopefully we can get sufficient numbers of students enrolling for this program, so you can do some analysis on the field.
Yes, and we can have further webinars in future. There's a bit of different subject. It's all possible. Yep.
Sounds good.
Okay.
So again, thank you very much for your time, and we appreciate all the audience's time today joining us on the webinar session entitled Flexibility in Education, Micro-Credential for All. Okay, now we hope that this avenue will benefit to all of you, and feel free to sort of share us your thoughts and messages in the webinar in via email to CADe-Lead email. And of course, we hope that all of you could disseminate this information to your students so they will get the benefit as well. So again, thank you very much. Hope all of you are in the best of health and have a blissful day. Thank you very much. Wabillahi taufiq wa hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you.
Thank you, Johan.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right.